25 years I've spent developing reading machines, particularly for people with disabilities like blindness and dyslexia. I've gotten tens of thousands of letters and communications from people that said it helped them with their work and their education. And that's a good example of really what is satisfying for an inventor, which is not to get the gadgets working and give a good demo, although the art of the demo is very important to the process of getting there, getting supporters and so on. It's really have somebody using a technology only because it really helps them transcend the limitation. So that's been very exciting.
The theme of our conference is Rise of the Citizen Scientist, and you are very familiar with the Americans with Disabilities Act. It's part of what drives a lot of the purchases of things we fly. How would you go about creating something like reasonable accommodation for citizen scientists? People who want to go and do science, it might not be affiliated with a large, financially strong organization. Let's say there's a lab and it's not being used or, in a university that gets public funding. How would you go about broadening and generalizing the concept of reasonable accommodation for the good of society?
Well, I mean, there are many movements right now along these lines, one of which is collaborative problem solving in every area. There was recently a mathematical theorem that had never been solved before, that was solved. It could only have been solved by collaboration of hundreds of mathematicians getting together using these collaborative tools and solving the problem together. There are organizations now organizing groups of patients to cure those diseases. And you don't have to be a doctor or a medical professional to cure diseases. In fact, if you look at biotech companies, they're new scientists and all kinds of people who are not medical professionals. Tools are really in everybody's hands. Who's more motivated than someone who has legal perspective? This is something I tried to do in my own projects. The original reading machine project in the 1970s, we had 8 blind engineers working with us. We also had blind people working in other areas like marketing. In Kurzweil music, we required every engineer to be a musician. We have been gifted musicians. Because you really can't translate into just pure signal processing terms what an instrument needs to do for a musician unless you actually are going to be a user yourself. The tools of creativity are in everybody's hands. I mean, so Google and Facebook are good examples, but it could be true of biology too. Biology now is really at a stage similar to the hobbyist era of the 1970s with personal computing, where people can do things like synthetic biology with very inexpensive equipment, using their knowledge of information technology. So you don't have to be a big organization.
There was an article in the New York Times, June 11th, by Ashley Vance, talking about